No medical claims are being made with the suggestions here. And with that, we are going to get started. So we're going to start off talking about stem cell patches, stem cell activation patches. They're not stem cell patches because there are no stem cells in these patches. The stem cells are already in your body. When an ovum and a sperm unite, that creates the beginning of the life that is you. And there's 23,688 genes that are instantly created upon conception. And so those genes have stem cells, which is what creates the building blocks to form you in your mother's womb. And so you are created into an embryo, later a fetus, then a newborn baby, and boom, we blink our eyes a few times, take a few circles around the sun, and here we are at whatever age we are chronologically. So the thing to know about stem cells is that this is actually a picture, an electron microscope picture of what stem cells look like, and stem cells are pluripotent. And what that means is that they're able to morph into any kind of, or they're able to create in real time any kind of stem cell that you need, or the stem cells are creating cells, whatever kind of cell you need in real time. So if you have a damaged heart cell, if you have a damaged liver cell, if you have a damaged nerve in your brain, it will create the replacement to take care of that immediately. Wherever there's inflammation in the body, your stem cells know that inflammation is a sign of damaged cells, damaged tissue, and so they immediately go to send cells to replace the damaged ones with the new ones. So let's talk a little bit about how your body works. And I like to equate the human body is very much like the house that you live in. So when you go to build a house, you don't start with the roof, you don't start with the walls. We always start with the foundation. We start with the base layer. And the same thing is true with your stem cells. Your stem cells are so intelligent. They know something called, in healthcare, we call it triage. It knows how to differentiate what's critical, what's not so critical, what needs to be taken care of but can be taken care of maybe down the line in order to sustain your body and to keep you, especially taking care of your vital organs. So let's start off with the foundation. And the thing to know is that by the time you're 30 years old, 50%, that's 50% of your stem cells turn off. So like a 25-year-old has about 25% of their stem cells have actually turned off already. By the time you're 30, 50% of them turn off. They don't disappear, they're not damaged, they just simply go dormant. They just go to sleep. And it's just a direct function of aging. So by the time you fast forward to hitting the age of 60, you have 90 to 100% of your stem cells have turned off. And so what these stem cell activation patches are going to do, these are two of them. We have the mother and the daughter stem cell activation patch right here. This stem cell activation patch, they work through your own body's infrared light. So we are 98.6, 98.7. Some people even run a little hot 99 degrees Fahrenheit. And that is just evidence of the infrared light that's not just contained in your body, but actually, if I were to wear night vision goggles, I would actually see you glowing in the dark, because that's the infrared light that's not just contained in your body. It's in you, through you, all around you, and you actually glow. And we could see that with night vision goggles. And this is actually a picture of, I have a BioWell machine that actually measures the joules of energy. And we just stick your fingers in there, and then we actually get readings of what your organ systems are doing, head to toe. And so these stem cell activation patches, the way they work is this little patch is an FDA compliant class 1 medical device. And in the middle, you'll notice it's about the size of a quarter. It's not very big, but it's about the size of a quarter. And in the middle, you have a crystal lattice. And that little crystal lattice is made of organic nanotechnology that uses traditional Chinese medicine acupuncture points, because we'll take the patch and apply it on a specific acupuncture point to get a greater effect, because it's on a point that is tied to a particular organ or organ systems. And that's made of organic sugars, organic sugar crystals, salt crystals, and a proprietary blend of amino acids. And so for the first patch, we have the Fantastic 5, which the Fantastic Five basically covers the primary foundations of the body. So let's start with the mother stem cell activation patch. That's X39, and that's going to create our foundation of our home, which is our temporary housing unit for the personality that you are, Lisa. And your parents decided to name you Lisa, and they decided to name me Lillian, and they decided to name Tony and Joe Tony and Joe. And so this foundational patch, this is the one, every patch does something very unique and different. No two are alike. This one activates your stem cells by your own body's infrared light. So your body is the battery that operates this technology. Immediately, it'll turn on a third of your genomes to a younger, healthier state. The research study shows that it's 4,192 of your previously dormant stem cells actually turn on. Doesn't matter if you're 20, 25, 90, 95, even if you're, younger. A third of your previously dormant stem cells will turn on. That's a very significant amount. And immediately, those stem cells, because they're turned on and their job is to repair damaged tissue, damaged cells, damaged bones, damaged anything that's damaged, it begins with repairing cellular damage, restoring your collagen. Collagen is the building block protein in the body to create tissue, to create skin. It's going to rebuild any scar tissue. I love this because when it rebuilds your scar tissue, your stem cells actually go to the places where you have any kind of lesions, any malformations, any scar tissue, gets rid of the scar tissue, and it replaces it with the original tissue so that little by little that scar starts to disappear. I'm one of those people who, I got hit by a bus almost 6 years ago, so I had a nasty scar that went from my ankle to my knee, and now that scar not only has the bone filled in, but the scar, it went from a purple elevated scar to now it's flat, and now it's only about 3 inches long, and it's almost completely gone. I'd say about 90% gone.
Lillian, does that work for scars inside your body?
Yeah.
Okay.
The stem cells are going to replace any scar tissue inside or outside of the body.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
My sister has a lot of that webbing scarring.
Yeah.
And it's really invasive.
Yeah. So and if she has that evidence on the outside, she probably has some on the inside.
Well, it's all on the inside. It's like all this, they said it's like webbed and it's just like all around her organs.
So this will definitely, because that's the job of your stem cells. As soon as, the neat thing is that we're turning on her original stem cells. We're not taking exogenous outside stem cells, either from a donor or from herself. We're taking the stem cells that are already in there and we're simply turning them back on. And so this effect also results in a reduction in fine lines and wrinkles. Your stem cells don't care about your vanity, your looks, or your beauty. They don't. They are very neutral as far as that's concerned. They just recognize that where there's fine lines, where there are wrinkles, where there are lesions, where there's scar tissue, there's oxidative stress, there's damaged tissue that simply needs to be replaced. And because they're programmed to replace damaged cells, damaged tissue, it's one of the things that will happen is that you will have a reduction in fine lines and wrinkles. If you got the 5 of 12 bullet points, you'll see that the testimonial that I have at the bottom of those 5 of 12 bullet points shows my friend Kathy, who she got on the patches not for her fine lines and wrinkles, although that was a very dramatic effect that everybody could see that knew her before she was on the patches and after. But what she got on the patches for was she had 33 years of suffering horribly from 3 breast implants that gave her autoimmune disease. And so that was her big, big pain point. And so she started on the patches January 22. And in 7 months, not only was her autoimmune issues disappeared, the pain, the discomfort, all the symptoms that she was having, but in 7 months, she went from having a very wrinkled chest to having no wrinkles on her chest. And luckily she took our advice, and we told her, make sure you take a picture now before you start on the patches, and then every 30 days, every month. And she did. And so a few months ago, I put on my Facebook page, and she refused to take pictures of her face. And I'm like, she's gorgeous. When you see her picture, you're going to go, to think that she refused to show her face. Thank goodness she finally did. But I finally told her, finally in October, I convinced her to actually not just take a picture of her face, but also to come on a Zoom just like this And I told her, hey, people who don't know me, people who know me, they know that it's true, but people who don't know me, maybe those friends will send it to a friend of a friend, and a friend of a friend is going to go, oh, that's photoshopped. And so I wanted to take away that possibility that people would think it was photoshopped, because you can't, like the zoom that's going on right here, I have no way of altering and photoshopping it. So she finally agreed to do it. And then, like I said, she looks like she's 35, 40 years old, but when we did the video, she was 63. She's now 64. But it's incredible to see how dramatic that is. But that's an indicator of how dramatic the repair has been also on the inside. So needless to say, the other thing that this mother stem cell activation patch, which is foundational, it's going to increase your energy. It's going to increase your sexual libido, your antioxidants, anti-aging, anti-inflammation. It's going to provide you, within 3 to 4 minutes, 50 to 100% pain relief and improved sleep and hair growth. So that's just this mother stem cell activation patch. David Schmidt, who is the inventor and the pioneer of this, he originally created this for the Black Ops Navy SEALs, because the Department of Defense came to him and said, we need you to create something in lieu of the energy drinks. The energy drinks do work. The only problem is that when they stop working, then you crash. And we need to have our guys, they're the frontline defense. They need to be on the top of their game at all times, always prepared. And they were, like so many people, but especially in their case, when you're in a submarine 90 days at a time, you're surrounded by electromagnetic frequencies and Bluetooth and Wi-Fi radiation from all the electronic gadgets. And you're in a pressurized vessel for 90 days at a time, where you're not going outside for 90 days, not ever getting fresh air, just the circulated air-conditioned air. And the blue light toxicity, which causes what we call mitochondrial dysregulation, causes a lot of inflammation inside of the body just from LED lights instead of incandescent light bulbs, because all the electronics use LED lights. So they're getting bombarded with this for 90 days at a time, which is not good for energy levels, not good for overall health and well-being. So that's when he was in prayer and meditation. He got the divine download, and he created the first stem cell activation patch, which is called Energy Enhancer, which simply does that. It simply signals the body to increase energy based on your original blueprint. So that was that first patch. We'll talk about that a little bit later. But back to the mother stem cell activation patch. This is our foundation, and so then the next thing is, this completes what we call the Fantastic Five. I like to call this the Fantastic Five because these 5 patches cover all the systems of the body. And so for everyone, whether you're trying to repair something in your body, or a series of 1, 2, 3, 4 or more conditions, or let's say you're healthy and you just want age reversal, or you just want peak performance. We have a lot of athletes that are on this too, that don't have health issues. They just want to have the competitive edge and have the greatest strength and stamina and endurance in their competition, so that they have the edge against their competition. So the Fantastic Five takes care of those, in addition with Energy Enhancer. So the next patch, before we go on to the next patch, let me share with you I call this a metaphor, because you can think of your stem cell activation patches, or think of your stem cells as the equivalent of a printer cartridge in your printer, where you make photocopies and print off copies. And when you have your colored or your black, ink cartridge, when it's 100% full, you make a color copy, and the color copy is indistinguishable from the original. And the same thing with a black and white copy. You can't tell the difference, the original from the copy. But when you've used up 80 to 90% of those ink cartridges, now the copy is a faded version of the original. And the same thing, the black and white copy is now a gray and white copy compared to the original. Same thing is true with your stem cells. Just as you have dots per inch with ink cartridges, with your stem cells, over time, you lose glutathione levels, you lose the little myelin sheath. If you look at your DNA, there's telomeres, which are the little legs at the end of a DNA strand. And so that myelin sheath, which is kind of made out of a special type of fatty tissue, it starts to disintegrate from the bottom it starts to travel up and continue to disintegrate. And in addition to that myelin sheath disappearing, you also have the ends of the telomere start to break off because it doesn't have that protection. And to the degree that your telomere length shortens, which is a function of aging, will determine your lifespan. This will actually grow back your telomeres, the inside of the DNA telomere strand, as well as the myelin sheath, will actually be repaired and restored as a direct result of activating your stem cells. So the next patch is the daughter stem cell activation patch, and that's X49. So X49, this is the foundation. So this is like the bearing wall of your house. Does something entirely different, much shorter list, but very powerful nonetheless. So this X49 protects you against radiation poisoning relief. It increases your lean muscle mass, bone density, muscle mass and strength, energy, focus, and cardiovascular system is increased. It protects you against 5G, Bluetooth, Wi-Fi radiation. It creates protection from electromagnetic frequencies, from modems, routers, any electronic devices in your home, your work, or even where you're out and about in public, 5G cell towers, etc. It also uses whatever belly fat you might have, it will use that as an immediate source of energy to rebuild and repair your body. So it will reduce belly fat. And if you have osteoporosis, since this is the stem cell activation patch that increases your bone density, your muscle mass and strength, osteoporosis means bone porosity. So porosis means that you have a porous condition, in this case of the bones. So because this increases your bone density, you will see that your osteoporosis, if you have any, it will disappear as a direct result of your bone density increasing. Very powerful patch. So then the next three are the master antioxidants of the body. So these are going to create our second, third, and fourth wall. So because I'm not an octopus and I can't juggle these all at the same time, I'm just going to hold it up this way. So the next patch, this is a very powerful patch. We're going to skip over this part. The glutathione patch. You probably are aware a lot of people take glutathione supplements. Some people go for glutathione IV drips once a month, sometimes twice a week. Some people get glutathione shots. A lot of people with neurological conditions like Parkinson's, MS, they'll go for glutathione shots because glutathione is the master antioxidant that not only detoxifies your body. Oftentimes people with those type of neurological conditions have a lot of toxins that have accumulated to the point where heavy metals, aluminum, mercury, lead, etc., those are neurotoxins, especially aluminum. We don't oftentimes think about, and I like to point out in this Zoom, how often we've been exposed to aluminum and we're really unaware, we don't pay too much attention. How many times we've had juices, sodas, beers out of an aluminum can. How many of us have baked and eaten an apple pie or any kind of pie that was baked in an aluminum tin? Or how many of us have also toothpaste? Up until 2014, all the toothpaste makers in the US put toothpaste in an aluminum tubing. I mean, there's still lotions right now that are put in aluminum tubes that you squeeze up. But it wasn't until 2014 that Tom's Toothpaste, which is one of the largest providers of organic toothpaste, that the consumers kept on clamoring to Tom's. It's like, how can you have organic toothpaste in an aluminum tube when we know that aluminum has been a known neurotoxin that causes neurocognitive decline, causes memory loss, etc. It's not good for the brain in any way, shape, or form. How can we have organic toothpaste? Because the organic toothpaste is absorbing the aluminum, and then you're putting that directly on your gums, and it's being directly absorbed by your gums into your bloodstream. No wonder we have this proliferation of dementia, Alzheimer's, and all sorts of other neurocognitive conditions. So in 2014, Tom's went ahead and switched over to a recyclable plastic, and then all the other toothpaste makers followed suit. But that wasn't that long ago. That was just 2014, 9 years ago. So glutathione, this patch is going to detoxify you from all sorts of things that don't serve your body. It's also an immune booster. So the moment you put this stem cell activation patch on your skin, immediately the glutathione will be boosted within a 24-hour period, 300% to as high as 600%, all based on your original blueprint of your stem cells. This patch will also increase antivirals. Your body, when it goes to detoxify, it doesn't care if it's a toxin, if it's a germ, a virus, or a bacteria. They're all things that are toxic to the body that don't serve the body. So your body goes to eliminate that through perspiration, urination, defecation. Basically, sweat, pee, and poop it out. And so then it purges it from the body to bring your body into homeostasis, into a better, healthier state. So while you're on the patches, can't emphasize this enough. I have this written down several times in this during this hour. It's really important that you drink 50% of your weight in fluid ounces of water, because our body is, depending on how old you are, anywhere from 70 to 82% water. And our DNA is primarily made up of water. And so to the degree that you are dehydrated will be to the degree that you are healthy. The more hydrated you are, the more things can fluidly move inside your body. And to the degree that you're dehydrated, then that becomes not as possible. So when you're 2% dehydrated, that's when you start to feel like parched. You either feel parched or you're feeling thirsty. So if you feel thirsty, that means that you're already dehydrated to about 2%. If you get to 8% of dehydration, believe it or not, your DNA starts to unravel. At 10% dehydration, you actually start to lose your mind. And when you hit 12%, if you hit 12%, everyone dies at 12% because no one can survive 12% dehydration. When you get dehydrated, your brain shrinks. So obviously, if your brain is deprived of water, if your body is being deprived of water, your body's not going to operate as well. It's not going to function as well. You're not going to feel as well. So it's really important to drink 50% of your weight in fluid ounces of water. That makes it possible so that when your stem cells create a new cell that needs to be replaced, it can get to where it needs to go through your bloodstream. It can immediately get there. If you're dehydrated, it's like they automatically run into the first obstacle course, which is like a giant mosh pit, kind of like quicksand, where it's like they get into the quicksand and it's really hard to get out of that quicksand until you get hydrated. Then it disappears and then it can get to where it needs to go. Does that make sense?
Mhm.
So the next patch is the carnosine patch, which I have here now. And the carnosine patch, I like to tell people, carnosine, these patches like the glutathione, that's the actual name of the antioxidant in the body, so that's what this patch is named. This one is carnosine. Carnosine, think of like carne asada, tacos. Everyone loves Mexican food. So carne asada tacos, that means that it's, red meat. Carne is the Latin word for meat, and this particular antioxidant is called carnosine. This master antioxidant supports and improves cardiovascular system, all things related to heart, muscle, and improves healthy brain function, memory, focus, and your brain processing time. This is going to increase your strength, your stamina, your endurance. It detoxes the brain specifically from aluminum. And if you have any wound inside or outside your body, it's going to aid wound healing and create rapid repair. So one thing I want to note about the carnosine patch, because a lot of people are not aware that to the degree that your cardiovascular system is working really well, will be the degree to which you have healthy brain function, memory, focus, and brain processing time. If you have any kind of compromise in your cardiovascular system, that means that the blood can't get up to the brain to do what the brain needs to do. And so that's when people start to have impaired memory. They start to search for words. They have poor focus. As soon as you optimize their cardiovascular system, then their brain gets optimized as well. So this is a really important patch for that particular reason. And you can have somebody who has great cardiovascular system who has poor brain function because, let's say, they had a traumatic brain injury, they had 1, 2, or more concussions. We see that actually quite a few times, quite a bit. A lot of people sometimes they come to us and they're unaware that they have multiple, sometimes many. I had one guy who discovered that he had over 150 traumatic brain injuries. Traumatic brain injuries is the medical term. Concussions is the same thing. You basically have brain damage. And conventionally, we have been taught that once you have brain damage, it can't be reversed. However, we actually are able to see, as a direct result of people wearing the patches, we've actually seen people with dementia, Alzheimer's, traumatic brain injuries, people who didn't have any memory, I've even had individuals in their 90s who had pretty severe onset Alzheimer's, who they went from not being able to recognize people, not being able to bathe, get themselves a cup of coffee, really impaired by that condition, to now they're able to bathe on their own, they're able to get their own coffee, they can do a lot of things for themselves, including remembering things that they didn't before, and they're in their either 80s or their 90s. So if it can happen for someone at that age level, you can only imagine how much benefit someone younger can also realize by being on the Fantastic Five. So let's go on to the last of the Fantastic Five. That's the Eon patch. This one's also connected to the brain. This is our master anti-inflammatory patch. We call it the anti-stress patch, and we've nicknamed it the happy patch. I just had two people that I shared yesterday on my Facebook Live, because we were doing an info Q&A, and then Jackie came on with her husband, and she was so excited. She's like, oh, we got a little testimonial to share with you. And Jackie's in a wheelchair, and her husband has been suffering from leukemia and a neck fusion and terrible nerve pain. And they've just been on the patches for 21 days. And Isaac said, today's day 21. And he told Jackie, he's like, hey, hon, I don't know if you're feeling this, but I'm feeling this sense of euphoria and joy. And I'm very peaceful, but I'm feeling like this euphoric joy. And she's like, me too. So they've just been on the patches for 21 days, and they're already starting to feel this joy, this happiness, and this calm. And then Isaac has had a significant drop. Like, he used to battle all night long with nerve pain through his left arm because he has two discs that are fused in his neck. And he said that, now, like the night before, like his pain has lessened, but the night before he only had 5 minutes of pain, and then it went away. And then Jackie, who's been in a wheelchair, she says for the last 3 years, she has had a lot of trouble with bowel movements, accidents, a lot of complications. And then the day before, on her 20th day, for the first time in 3 years, she had a bowel movement with no complications. And she's paralyzed, so obviously her intestines, her digestive system is paralyzed too. Well, that's like a significant change in less than 30 days. So that was very exciting. But this patch is responsible for reducing inflammation. It manages your inflammation. It reduces your atineoplastons, it actually reduces your cortisol levels and your C-reactive proteins. It raises something called atineoplastons, which I'll explain to you what that is in a little bit. It increases the DHEA, fountain of youth hormone, in the body, and it balances the left and the right side of the brain so that you start to get into homeostasis, which creates a very calming effect. And because it reduces, whenever you have a fight or flight response, if you're under stress, if you're struggling, if you're frustrated, your adrenals then release cortisol to give you that boost of energy so that you can fight, you can flee, you have that added energy to deal with whatever emergent situation is in your midst. That in turn creates C-reactive proteins that go into your bloodstream and gives you a stressful feeling that perpetuates. So this reduces the cortisol levels and brings your C-reactive proteins back into balance, so you have a calming effect and you have a feeling of joy and happiness. And now I'm going to explain to you what atineoplastons are, because most people are not aware of this. I cut this out of a medical research paper because it was the best explanation that I've been able to find that is great to share with people. And atineoplastons are simply peptides that are found in the blood and the urine of healthy people. And the research shows that they might stimulate the immune system, and that these peptides might also kill certain cancer cells and prevent them from proliferating and growing. They're used for different types of cancers and people who have high cholesterol. They're also used for people who have brain swelling due to any kind of infection. And so these are very important. A lot of people will have they call it IVIG, which is an immunoglobulin intravenous treatment of atineoplastons to help them with Parkinson's, or if they have Guillain-Barré, or any one of certain neurological disorders or different types of cancers. So this patch actually activates your own original blueprint of the atineoplastons that you originally had. So then that results in an incredible benefit to you.
Lillian, how you spell that first name? Atenial or?
Right here, you can, let me see. If you look up here, atineoplastons, you can look it up in PubMed. You can just look it up on Google. You can find it probably.
I can't see. Let's see. What are you showing?
And
I have three screens here going. Hang on.
yeah, and I can send you.
There it is. Okay.
And I can send you the bullets. You don't have to remember all of this stuff because it is a lot of stuff to remember. We'll send you these bullet points so that you have it in text message. It's just handy right there, and at a glance you can check it out, and then at your leisure, whatever you want to look up, you can look it up.
I just know how to spell it. Now I get it.
Yeah, atineoplastons. So I'm going to pause right here because I want to make sure that we have time to answer any questions that you might have. And do you have any questions specifically that you would like me to possibly answer for you?
I do. I'll go first. And so I was fortunately gifted a number of these patches. And so I'm on day 13. And I have, it's odd because there's not really a change, but there's a change, right? It's almost like you just feel right. You feel normal. Like it's kind of hard to explain. So it's been a great experience, which is why I'm on here. And I had reached out to you. But my question is, so I know there's many patches, but let's say you just started out with a fabulous 5 or fantastic 5. Are those every day, every day, or and does it have to be the same 12 hours for each? Can you wear some at the night, or the alternate 12 hours, and can you skip a day? Like, what's the protocol?
So you can. So we recommend that you wear the patches, and all the research study and everything shows you wear them 12 hours on, 12 hours off. There are some patches that will split up. Like, so for example, of the Fantastic 5, we link them up, and most people start off, with the Fantastic 5. You see the circles are not touching. They're just the adhesive is overlapping, and we put them traditionally on the brainstem or below the belly button, depending on the person. That's like the rule of thumb, but like I said, we always individualize things for people, so sometimes we have to split the patches up. So I started wearing in October. This is X39, 49, glutathione, carnosine is this patch, and then Eon. So I switched my carnosine, instead of wearing it during the day, I switched mine to wear it on my right temple at night. And then I started a patch called the Alavita patch, which increases your melatonin levels, it activates your pineal gland, and it increases mental clarity and focus as well.
That's the one I was looking at because I was wondering if I could wear that one in my forehead at night.
Yeah, so Alavita is a nighttime only patch.
Okay.
Carnosine you can wear daytime or nighttime. So that's why I switched carnosine to my right temple, because I wanted to increase my brain processing speed at night. I also, David Schmidt, who's the scientist who invented these, he wears Alavita on his third eye here, and then carnosine at night. And he talked about how he had more vivid dreams. And I thought, well, I have very vivid dreams already. I can't imagine them getting.
I already astral project and lucid dream all the time, so I don't know where this is going to take me.
Yeah, so I do too. I astral project and I do lucid dreaming too. So I'm like, I can't imagine. So what ended up happening is I noticed that in the first 90 days, I would recall, like if I had 2 or 3 dreams at night, I would remember them when I woke up in the morning. And then around the 90-day mark, I started noticing that I was dreaming with people that I know in 3D. And the things that I was dreaming, and I can only speak about my own experience about this, but I know as a rule of thumb, if I dream with somebody in my dreams, I know that the next day when I wake up, I need to call that person. So what was uncanny to me is that every time I've dreamt with someone, the content of that dream is something that's happening or just happened to them. And so I was like, that's kind of uncanny, because some of the people I haven't talked to in like pre-pandemic.
Mhm.
And so it's something I know that the research studies on the Eon patch, which is the one that does the brain balancing, and then the carnosine patch. The Eon patch in particular, because it's balancing the left and the right brain, they actually measured people's awareness and consciousness expanding in the research studies. So I thought that's definitely, I can vouch for that. That it's no question about it. Your perception and your awareness. Think about it. If you're balancing your brain, and this is from my training as a neurosomatic practitioner, because what I specialize in it has to do with the mechanical aspects of the brain and integrating the 8 neurosomatic systems of the body, which are visual, auditory, kinesthetic, olfactory, gustatory, and then there's 3 more. Have to, like your proprioceptive system, which is one of the most important systems of the body. Your brain, although it's not like a sphere, it behaves like a sphere, and it is keeping track of everything that's in front of you, whether you're not consciously aware, but in your subconscious mind, your brain is keeping track of everything that you can see at a 180-degree angle, and even what's behind you, above you, below you. So when you get in a car, your proprioceptive grid adjusts to include your car as if it were just like your body is a housing unit, it includes the car as a housing unit because it knows that it needs to protect you from not bumping into the car to the left. You need to manage cars to the left, to the right, in front of you, and behind you. And that's why sometimes you'll be driving and you don't know why, but you'll look in your rear view mirror and you'll see somebody tailgating you. That's because your brain, the proprioceptive grid, is going, it's something behind you, you need to check it out. And then you double check it with your 3D vision. And so people who have either if they're anywhere on the spectrum, autistic, Asperger's, you name it, or people who've had one or more concussions or traumatic brain injuries, your proprioceptive system, it literally goes offline. So this is one way of not just jump starting it, but getting it back into balance. Because we've all heard of people who are constantly in fender benders. You're like, oh my gosh, they're always bumping into another car, bouncing off of another car, maybe eating a center divider. They're always having these fender benders. Sometimes they have major accidents too. And then separate from all the fender benders, they're like accident prone where they trip on their own feet all the time. You'll be in a park, there's all these wide open fields, and somehow they manage to bump into a picnic table. You're like, why did they beeline to that picnic table? Well, they didn't mean to beeline to the picnic table. They wanted to get close to the picnic table, but because their proprioceptive system is off, they end up, hurting their shin or getting a sprain or, they end up getting hurt somehow. You're like, nobody else would walk into that picnic table, and it could be an adult or a child, but that's evidence of the proprioceptive system. It's not quite working the way it's supposed to. It's off. Sometimes it's off, sometimes it's running backwards, and we have to get the energy going in the right direction. So then it's not that difficult to do, but it needs to be identified so that then it can be addressed. Does that make sense?
Mhm.
So to answer your question, yes, so you can take we wear the 5, so like if you look at me, you'll see that I have my patches back there. I have 4 of them back there because carnosine I wear at night. And then you'll see I wear energy enhancer, not so much to boost my energy because I have pretty good energy, but I use it to expedite, to speed up the rapid repair in my body because since I was hit by a bus almost 6 years ago, I wanted to make sure that everything neurologically, everything head to toe. Because when you suffer a traumatic brain injury, it's like your CPU is not connected to the internet. So it's like it's on, but not all the connections are being made. And right after I didn't realize for the first almost 2 years that you're in so much pain from your neck, your back, and everything that's going on. It wasn't until my second year that I was even aware that I had 0 short-term memory, like 0. And my daughter later, after I recovered from it, my daughter said to me, she goes, I was really worried that you were getting, early onset Alzheimer's or dementia because repeatedly I would say things to you and you're like, I haven't even seen you today, or I haven't even seen you, for several days. And it's like, but we had breakfast together. And you're like, you had zero recollection. And so once I realized it, I'm like, oh my gosh. So now I knew mechanoceptively how to bring that back. And I did get my memory back prior to getting the patches. However, it exponentially grew once I started on the patches, because now instead of having to read things 2-3 times or writing them down and taking other measures to learn and then to recall the information, I don't really have to do that anymore. Now I just, after I'd say about 4 months on the patches, I noticed that, oh my gosh, I just read this research paper once, and the next day I'm in real time in a Zoom just like this. I'm quoting stats from that paper. I remember like the keywords on this one I read for the ice wave patch, which is the only patch we have that doesn't repair anything. It just turns off pain receptors. And the keywords for that paper, I just remember when I first read it, I'm like, oh, no one's using these keywords: organic, nanotechnology, using photobiomodulation, and acupuncture. And I was thinking, yeah, we talk about photobiomodulation, but no one talks about this organic nanotechnology. And then it talked about how the LifeWave stem cell activation patches uses organic nanotechnology that is wireless. And I thought that was kind of funny. But they have to distinguish, because it's not battery or electrically operated. It really is wireless. And that it uses traditional Chinese medicine acupuncture points to exponentialize the effects of the patches on the skin activated by the body's infrared light. So normally I would have had to have written that down, read the paper 2 more times, take notes to commit it to memory. I didn't have to do that. The very next day I was on a Zoom just like this, and it was just like I could see the picture in my head, and it's like organic nanotechnology, photobiomodulation, acupuncture points. And I thought, wow, it took zero effort. They're like, I didn't have to learn it. It was just absorbed, and in real time I was able to recall it, which is a function of brain processing speed. And so then I realized, I'm like, okay, now I know what Dr. Stacy was talking about, because when I met Dr. Stacy, she only had 1 PhD. She was an integrative medicine PhD. And 6 months later, not even quite 6 months, like her and I were getting medical certifications at the same time, she started a second PhD in July, and I was in Nevada in July, and she was also. And before Christmas, she got her second PhD. So now she has an integrative medicine PhD and a functional medicine PhD. And I'm like, what? You got your PhD completed in less than a year? I've never heard of anybody finishing a PhD in less than a year. It was not even 6 months. But her brain processing speed, again, but it's a direct function of the patches, because I'm not so sure. I mean, she's obviously a smart individual. I'm not so sure she would have been able to have done it with the medical. She's got a huge medical practice, and so it's like, holy smokes, to be able to do it in that time frame is just
And
nuts.
that was your energy one, right?
And so yeah, so
Okay.
that's energy enhancer, and that's a fantastic 5, and yeah, and the energy enhancer. But your brain processing speed is affected by, like I said, it's this carnosine. But you're balancing everything at the same time, and that's a very powerful effect on the body. I have one guy, Bob Campbell, 3 years ago. He was just on X39, and I videoed his testimonial this last fall in September, because I asked him to come on. He's a great guy. It's amazing, because he had really horrible skin cancer, and he also had prostate cancer, horrible plantar fasciitis that he suffered with since 1972. He's a retired mailman, so he walked in the sun. He's originally a redhead, so very fair complected, and which is part of, he never wore sunscreen or anything, and so he ended up coming down with skin cancer. So he had multiple cancers going on at the same time. The person who started him on the patches forbid him from trying any other patch. He was only allowed to use the X39 patch. So needless to say, because he's not taking care of all the systems of the body, he's still got the cellular repair. It's just slower, because you only have the foundation. You don't have the bearing wall. You don't have all the other structures that are being addressed. So it wasn't until I think in the middle of his second year that he started to apply the other patches, and then things started to happen, even quicker. But for the first 7 months that he was on the patch, he was still in pain. But he noticed was in the first 30 days that his sleep was much better. He was much better sleep, much more energy. he just overall felt better just using the X39. 7 months into this, he was thinking of stopping because he still had pretty terrible pain, and he still had his prostate cancer, he still had his skin cancer. But he decided that he was sleeping so good and his energy was so much better, he thought, you know what, I'm just going to stick with it. Luckily, he did. In between the 23rd and 24th month, like his prostate cancer got resolved in the first, like right after his first, I think at the 16th or 18th month mark. But it wasn't until the 23rd or 24th month mark where, up until that point, he had lesions all over his body from the skin cancer. And so he would go back to his oncologist, and his oncologist the first time said, we got to burn these off. So he had them burned off the first time. He says it's horribly painful. And then they grew back. And when they grew back, he went back to his oncologist again, and he's like, we're going to have to burn these off again. He's like, again? They're like, there's no other way. We have to burn these off. We can't allow them to, proliferate. So he was horrified at the prospect of doing that, but he had to endure it again. So then they grew back a third time, and he's like, that's it. There's got to be a better way. That's when these patches came into his life experience. And so he had those lesions on his skin. They were like big white scabs all over his face and all over his body. And it was in between the 23rd and 24th month. He said one day he was just taking a shower just like he does every day. And something happened that day where all the scabs started to fall off of him while he was taking a shower. And they were on the shower floor. And if you look at Bob, having had those, cancerous lesions on scabs that were all over his body, you would think from having them burnt off of him professionally by his doctor twice that he would have scars from that. And you look at his face, he doesn't have a wrinkle on his face, perfectly pink skin, no age marks, no wrinkles, just, he's got white hair. You can tell that he's an older man because he is an older man, but it's like beautiful skin after all of that. And then of course his plantar fasciitis, I'll send you, if you'd like, I can send you that video testimonial. Incredible, good friend of mine now. But yeah, it's pretty incredible, that transformation. So I tell people, we recommend the Fantastic Five to start off with. You can start just with the X39 and see how it goes. However, if you really want to do you can't get yesterday back. We're only getting a day older each day. So I think for the most part, people want to feel as good as they possibly can, as quickly as they can. So if you can start on the Fantastic Five, great. If not, you can add them, little by little as well. And then as you're able to afford to do so, then you move forward to that. So does that make sense?
It does. Now, is it cumulative? I mean, can you skip a day in between? Does it start you over? What happens there?
So you don't, if you skip a day, you don't lose anything. You lose a day of the benefit of having, because the moment you put the stem cell activation patch on your skin, immediately your stem cells are literally turned on. And then, so for 12 hours, you're going to wear them for 12 hours. So when you remove them, then they're off, but now the rest, repair, and restore cycle happens. So if you skip a day, you just don't have the benefit of the time of 12 hours having activated your stem cells. So you don't regress. You're not going to go back. On the Fantastic Five, your glutathione levels, because once you wear the glutathione patch, within 24 hours, your glutathione levels will be spiked up. But then after the following 24 hours, then it's going to start to decline because you haven't signaled it to stay on. So you're signaling your body every day, because it's kind of like eating. You have to eat every day. You can skip a day from eating and you're not going to die. We know people who fast, and there's actually benefits to fasting. But you can skip a day. It's not going to undo what it did yesterday. You just won't have the benefit of your cells being repaired and replaced for that following 24 hours. So
do you ever recommend for your clients, say, whatever their stasis is, right? Whatever they're using the patches for, then all of a sudden they have relief. They're kind of back in stasis, right?
Yeah.
Do you then say, okay, you've been on it for 3 months, and now that you've kind of gotten to the point where you've got yourself back normal, it's okay to like maybe just do maintenance, or
No,
I'm just concerned about like this, so you have to wear this every single day for the rest of your life, or you're not going to get anything.
no. You don't need to use it for the rest of your life, but you
No,
can.
but you know what I mean. I don't mean I'm just being facetious,
So,
but you.
so you finally got your body into homeostasis. Your body's not used to being in homeostasis. It just managed to get to homeostasis. So,
Mhm.
without being on the patches, you have 56 trillion cells in your body, and it normally takes 7 years to replace all 56 trillion cells without being on the patches, because that's just the normal schedule. That's your human programming. We're all born with that. When you're on the patches, though, everything is expedited. So we recommend that you stay on the patches for 12 months, because after 12 months, and we know this from looking at your blood tests and from people having scans, but especially the biomarkers and your blood test will show that after 12 months, your body will have reversed its age anywhere from 16 to 20 years. Now your body is used to being at a much younger, healthier state, and now you are not just 16 to 20 years younger biologically, but whatever age you were 16 to 20 years ago, you are an optimized version. So let's say if you're 50 years old, let's say you're 15 years, well, all the research shows 16 to 20 years. So if you're 50 years old, let's say 30 is 20 years younger. So maybe at 30, you were already starting to have either diabetes or maybe you were diagnosed with MS, whatever your issues were at 30. But now on the stem cell activation patches, it's going to make you 30 years old where it's a healthy, optimized version of you. So after 12 months, if you decide to stop taking the patches, you're not going to have any negative effects. It's not like anything's going to be undone. Now your body's going to behave like an optimized version of you at 30 years of age based on your original blueprint, and your body will simply begin to age like a 30-year-old moving forward. And so after that, I have people who, they'll just be on it a year and they're like, I feel fantastic. It's like, okay. But I have more of them that don't. They're like, well, if I can roll it back to 30, can I roll it back? I had a gal, Stacy, who she wanted to see if she could roll it back to 25, and nobody knows. I go, I don't know if it'll roll it back further or if that's the youngest you'll ever be biologically. Nobody really knows. You have to do it and then test. So I thought she was going to wait till next August to run her blood tests again. She didn't. Last month was 6 months. Now she's 48 and a half. And when she ran her blood test, it showed that she was 25 biologically. So then she's like, I wonder if I can roll it back to 20. Nobody knows that answer. I go, maybe it'll still be 25 next August. I don't know. Maybe it'll be 24 and a half, 24. Nobody knows. But if it's still 25 by next August, that's a pretty good state, because she'll be 49 next, this coming fall. So the doctors and the group basically say just stop wearing the patches when you want to allow aging to occur, or when you want to stop age reversal, because the patch's job is to turn on your stem cells, and your stem cells are going to repair all cellular damage. So it's a natural age reversal process.
When they do the blood, I'm sorry, I'm taking over all the questions here. This is my last one, then I'm gonna let someone else talk. When they do the blood test to check that, are they just checking different levels, different hormones, different, like, it's just like there's certain levels when you're certain ages, or what are they looking at?
Okay, you can go to your doctor and order your blood test, especially if you have insurance. They usually do a CBC, which is a cell blood count, or a CB. We tell people if you're going to go to your doctor, ask them for a CBC with differential, because instead of just like a dozen markers, then you'll have like 18 to 24 markers, depending on your doctor and what they order. We order a panel of 43, it's like up to 43 biomarkers. So we just look at everything, all the different systems of the body, hormones, cholesterol level, you name it. And so based on those, there are tables that show what those markers should be according to certain age levels. So then it'll show your chronological age, and then it'll show what your biological age is. So some people, their biological age is much older than their actual chronological age. And then people who are obviously in good health and good condition, people who've been on the patches for a while, their biological age is younger than what their chronological age is. So yeah, so that's how we know what their biological age is, because we have a we have blood tests that we do on them. Yeah. Yeah. Any other questions? Because that's what this is for, is to answer any and all questions that you might have.
My wife has a question.
Can you hear
Yes.
me?
Yes.
Then I have a question after she's finished.
Okay.
Well, my husband is on an injection to lower his cholesterol. All the medications were not working. And so finally the heart doctor put him on this one. And I just wondered if the patches is something that will reset your liver. It sounds like it will, but I'm checking anyway.
Yeah, so anyone who, I always tell people, if you're on any kind of prescription meds after 30 days of being on the patches, make sure you check back with your doctor and have them adjust whatever prescriptions you have, because you might have to change your prescriptions. It's not uncommon for people to have their blood pressure medication lowered, their cholesterol medication, any medications that they're on may need to be lowered after 30 days, 60 days, 90 days. So it would be really advisable to at least every 90 days go in and have your doctor check you to see, because you may need to lower some of your prescription meds, because now your body doesn't need it.
That's good news. Okay.
Should we have started with the Fantastic Five rather than what do we have?
A silver. Well, it's more money.
Then rather than the X49 or whatever it is?
X39.
So you could always okay, so you guys started on a silver pack, so you didn't start with a complete Fantastic Five, but you can upgrade, you can increase to, let's say, a gold pack, and at any point in time you could always add whatever patches you need. And they always have, we've got you on the Dr. Wholesale pack side, so the nice thing is when you upgrade, they always give you a free sleeve, or you get free product, which is kind of nice because that's not available on the retail side. On the retail side, people just, they just buy from the link and so forth, and then they don't get the free bonus products. But when you upgrade, you do. So if you have a silver pack for like $200, you can upgrade to a gold, and that would get you an X39 and an X49, and then you get to pick whatever supportive sleeve of your choice. So you can always add patches or take away patches. It's whatever you need. You're not locked into anything. And there's no contracts or any agreements. So it's just really what you need. So if you'd like, after we're done here, we can go over whatever it is that you might need to amend.
Now, this is my Whopper question.
Whopper question.
Whopper question.
My Whopper question. Now, I had a quadruple bypass,
Cabbage.
whatever they call it, and join that thing. I wound up getting a stroke.
Sorry.
It caused a stroke
When you were in surgery.
when it was in surgery. Now that caused peripheral vision blockage,
Yeah.
which causes every once in a while to get the light refract the wrong way. It just causes my head to spin in the wrong, just go crazy because of the light. So what kind of patch would correct that? If it's correctable?
Yeah, so the Fantastic Five, again, because it has to do with the brain, and you basically have nerves in your eye that need to be, your peripheral vision, all of that is controlled in your brain. So the Fantastic Five definitely covers all of that, so that and we've had people who lost their vision, got their vision back. We've had people who lost their hearing, got their hearing back. So I have one guy right now, he has 12 stents in his body. He has 12 stents in his heart. He has 2 stents that have dissolved. When he started in October, he was 92. He's 93 now. Just talked to his son this morning. He's doing much, much, much better. And 12 stents in his heart, that's obviously a lot of cardiovascular issues kind of going on. But his numbers have all dramatically dropped. He's feeling so much better. And he's 93. And his son today was saying, he goes, I would not be surprised if my dad lasts to be like 105 or 110 because he's on this patches. Without the patches, he goes, he may have had a year or 2 more left, but he's doing so much better now. And so
that's what the Fantastic Five.
yeah, that's the Fantastic Five. So the ones that we just reviewed today, You've got the X39, the 49, glutathione, the
You know
carnosine.
what they are.
That's the cardiovascular. Carnosine, cardiovascular, and then Eon, master anti-inflammatory.
Do you get egg rolls with that?
You have to ask Joe about that if she wants to give you egg rolls with your patches.
We did have a good report from our daughter. We made an executive decision to share our patches with her because we didn't have any extra, but we only gave her like 10 days or something, and then we shared the other. But she had been in terrible shoulder and chest pain for like 7 or 8 months. You know, she's a busy mom with homeschooling 4 and just juggling a million things, making bread all the time to pay for her kids' piano lessons. She makes sourdough bread from scratch. All of these. She has a garden, you know, she has animals.
Wow.
And she was doing all that with so, you know, at one point it was just so severe. You know, a few weeks ago, we shared the patches with her. And of course, she was getting a lot of prayer from church and all, but she said the patches significantly reduced the inflammation and her range of motion and everything she was probably a good 90% better.
Wow. Wow.
So, of course, you can't get the patches right now yet because it's snug with that size of a family, but she's pretty impressed.
So if you would like me to talk to her, I can maybe help show her how she can get on the patches and have them paid for so that she can afford to get them. You know, I've had a few like homeschooling moms that are in that kind of a predicament. So, you know, we can get her started under you, and she could be a brand partner, kind of like a consultant under you, and she could earn product introduction bonuses, which will offset her cost. So then she gets her patches for free.
Now, we have this friend who has what's his problem? He has Jonathan. What's wrong?
He's a type 1 diabetic, but he also has, I think what the other young lady mentioned, her sister had, with these scars that keep, so he can't take insulin because it would make scar tissue and keep growing. So he literally is on God's life support. I don't know how to put it. You know, the father of 5 or 4 young children.
And you can know that he's not well because you can actually smell it.
The sickness.
You know, and so they're really having a rough time because he has to try to balance his insulin without medication at all.
That's a tough one. So he would really benefit from being on the stem cell activation patches, no question.
Yes.
Yeah, so most definitely. If you'd like me to talk to him too, let me know. We can talk to him later.
I will.
Yeah, his wife is she wears the pants, so I'll have to have his wife
Talk to her.
You know, he's a very quiet guy. You know, he's very brilliant, but he's just very, very, very quiet.
But he's like an insurance man and in real estate. So he's still doing life, but I know I would love for him to feel better.
Yeah, for sure.
We'll connect.
Okay.
So we'll ask, can we give her your phone number? And
Yeah, please just give him my phone number. Yeah, for sure. Sounds good.
Do we have a phone number? Yeah. Okay.
Any other questions, Lisa?
No, thank you. And I'm sorry, Tony and Joe, that I hogged up all the time with my questions.
That's okay.
We're living in a free country.
And
Freedom of speech is number 1.
We're learning from your questions too.
Oh, good. Thank you.
Everyone benefits. So, okay. So you guys, with your permission, I'd like to, we're gonna close this. This was recorded. If you all agree, I think there's some great things that Tony and Joe shared as well. And Lisa, you did too. This could benefit others. So with your permission, I'd like to put this on my YouTube channel so that people can hear the best that you guys have had. And that way others can benefit from this life-saving technology. Okay?
Very good. I will have to close this with one thing.
Mm-hmm.
One of the things I noticed, I don't procrastinate.
Oh,
Like if I have to do something, I'll get up and go, and something just makes me come back and do it.
Wow.
I don't know. And I'm not the worst procrastinator, but it's things where I'm like, even at my work, because I work from home,
Mhm.
you know, I can go up and do laundry and cook and whatever I want, right?
Mhm.
And I don't. And I'm finding myself waking up at dawn. Like right after, like it's like 5:15, I'm awake. I'll try to go back to sleep. Sometimes I could,
Mhm, mhm.
but those two things really stood out. And I'll say one last thing. So the first time I tried these patches, Steve, you know, our neighbor,
Yeah.
he was the one that was here visiting with me over in Laughlin, and he's the one that gifted them to me. So he put them on me on Saturday afternoon, like early in the day. It was probably like 9 or 10 o'clock in the morning. And you know, we were playing all
Mhm.
along, have a few to drink.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what, I woke up on Sunday like that. I should have been in bed, like wanting to like cut my head off until like noon. And I woke up, no hangover, like it was just a regular Sunday morning, which I know me and I knew I deserved a really bad hangover and I had nothing. So that was really bizarre. And the other really odd thing and I'm sorry, Tony, this might be a little personal, but that night I got up to use the restroom. I'm going to say probably about 8 or 9 times. And it wasn't just like trickle potty. It was like I had drank a gallon of water. And it was the most bizarre thing. And I had never experienced that. And then the fact that I woke up with no hangover, I was like, yeah, I don't know what happened here, but there's something here. You
Yeah,
know,
your body really detoxed.
it did.
And it didn't linger. It immediately detoxed.
So that was interesting. And I didn't know anything about this, you know, just what Steve was telling me. And we were at the lake and he's showing them to me. He's in the water and he's showing me where they are. And I had asked him, like, how you doing? How you feeling? Because with his hip surgery, he's like, you know what? I feel fantastic. I feel like 20 years, 25 years younger. And Steve's 70, he'll be 71 now, or he just turned 71.
Mhm.
And I'm like, well, what you do? What you change? You know, what's your diet? What's happening? He's like, nope. And he showed me the patches and he told me about them. So it was very enlightening. So
And
it
his
was really,
yeah, his shoulder pain also went away, which was like the first thing because he said he could not lift up his arm above his head. And
Mhm.
he goes, I can do everything now. I'm like, wow, that's like
Mhm.
so awesome. And
Yeah, it was funny at breakfast before they left. I made him and Gary they were both here, and I said, "Put your arms straight up in the air because that's my thing. Put your arms in the air for 2 minutes, reduces your cortisol, and it increases your testosterone, gives you better energy."
yeah.
And he was actually able. He's like, "Normally I can't put my arms up," and so it was hearing it from him firsthand, and then experiencing it Sunday morning, feeling like who invaded my body because I should want nothing but a Bloody Mary and bacon right now, right? So thank you for introducing him to which introduced me. So
Yeah,
thank you.
you're quite welcome. All righty, well, that sounds awesome. Thank you,
you.
guys.
Thank you. Nice to
guys
see you,
all-
Tony.
Bless you.
Joe.
You guys all have my number. You
Okay.
know how to get a hold of me.
Yes.
Yes,
Beautiful
ma'am.
Friday.
Yeah. Bye. Thank you, Lillian.
Bye.
Ciao.
Ciao.
Ciao.